therefore should ensure they have a constant supply of necessary medicines. Contact your clinic or health facility for information on how to access treatment. Help others within your network to access adequate supply of essential medicines. Ensure that you remain connected with your local networks for any support, and follow the medical guidelines provided by your health facility to prevent coronavirus. Remember to stay updated with information on coronavirus using only trusted reliable channels. For more information on COVID-19, call 719 or dial *719#. COVID-19 is preventable. Protect yourself, your family, and the community. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Good evening. This is Channel 1 News Hour. Well, welcome to the program. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you. For now, let's take a look at the highlights.
People are missing beds right now in ICU units. And so we need to really stand guard and ensure we adhere to these containment measures.
Government now warns of ICU beds crisis owing to fast rising COVID-19 critical cases. Are they back to cause terror? 2 people dead and 10 others seriously injured in a Mandera bus attack. Gun in one hand and a baby tacked to the chest. We bring you the story of a babysitting police officer in the just-ended KCPE exam.
I would like to ask the center managers with very large pupillages, they must have 3 or 4 policemen, and it's very simple.
Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha says each examination center is to be guarded by 3 armed police officers. Welcome to the program. My name is Jacky. Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Now, to kick us off, 2 people have died and 10 others are injured after a bus they were traveling in hit an improvised explosive device in Kurame, Mandera County. 10 other people were injured and are fighting for their lives at various hospitals in the county. Six of those injured are said to be in critical condition, and plans are underway to airlift them to Nairobi for further treatment, while the other 4 are in stable condition and are receiving treatment at Mandera Referral Hospital.
Out of the 40 people that are in the bus, 2 have lost their life, and it has been confirmed. And 10 people are seriously injured, and we are waiting for referral. And in the next couple of hours, we will take them to Nairobi, inshallah.
Mandera County Governor Ali Roba condemned the incident, calling on the residents to join forces with the government to curb terror attack in the border region.
I would like to request our public to also understand that we have a role to play, particularly in the common surveillance and reporting. Please do not get frustrated and tired of reporting any suspicious security-related incidences to facilitate a swift response from our security personnel.
Local leaders called on security agents to scale up security along the Kenya-Somalia border route.
Kawaida, wakati tulipata hiyo habari, maafisa wetu wa polisi, wa GSU, PPU na jeshi walienda kwa hiyo mahali, na mimi nafikiri vile nimesema hata wafanya nini tutakuja tutapata watu.
The bus attack occurred barely 3 months after another landmine attack. Meanwhile, Kenya has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to provide a roadmap for the closure of Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps. In his Twitter handle, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i stated that there will be no room for further negotiations after the Tuesday meeting with UNHCR officials. The 2 refugee camps are home to thousands of refugees in Somalia and other neighboring countries.
In other news, the Ministry of Health is warning Kenyans that the country is running out of ICU beds as the coronavirus cases in the country continue spiraling. The ministry claiming it was disheartening to see Kenyans relapsing to old days instead of taking precautions to protect themselves from the pandemic. The warning came as the country recorded 1,540 new confirmed coronavirus cases, the highest ever from 9,348 sampled.
The country's healthcare system is now stretched to its limit, with the Ministry of Health warning that Kenya was running out of ICU beds. Patients in critical condition in need of ICU beds are facing a nightmare as many hospitals remained filled to capacity. Health CAS Mercy Mwangangi warning that the country was staring at unforeseen future, with the positivity rate remaining high at 16.5%.
We note that the last few days have been particularly disheartening, with a really high positivity rate that has remained so, and with hospitalizations that have also continued to rise. Some of our counties have particularly been hard hit compared to others. Nairobi's contribution to the positivity is staggering, fellow Kenyans, and stands at close to 57.7%. That is very high and disheartening, as we've said.
In the last 24 hours, the country confirmed 1,540 new cases from 9,348 samples tested. In the same period, Kenya lost 18 people to COVID-19 related complications, taking the country's death toll to 2,066. Mwangangi is warning against laxity in adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocols.
We need to have our guard high. We've seen people exercising laxity when it comes to these COVID adherence measures. And it's really disheartening, because if you're standing here as we are right now, then you'd be seeing the really true picture that is happening in our hospitals, to the point where people are missing beds right now in ICU units. And so we need to really stand guard and ensure we adhere to these containment measures.
In the meantime, the ministry has dismissed claims of the commercial sale of the Russian Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine.
We have seen those adverts. Those adverts are false. There's no current pharmacy or hospital in the country that has a Sputnik V vaccine with them. And through the emergency market authorization, it is actually illegal for a facility to advertise and to say that it has that commodity.
Mwangangi was speaking as the world marked World TB Day, saying that the fear of contracting COVID-19 has prevented those with the disease from seeking medical help.
Fellow Kenyans, as we battle another wave of COVID-19 pandemic, we must not forget the risks posed by the disease to those of us who have underlying conditions. Those with respiratory challenges could potentially suffer the most if exposed to the COVID-19 virus. And we must bear this in mind as we mark this year's World Tuberculosis Day today. This year's theme of World TB Day calls for equitable access to prevention, treatment, and care in line with WHO's drive towards achieving universal health coverage. We have domesticated the theme to reflect Kenya's goals and targets. And our theme for Kenya is "The clock is ticking. It is time to end TB in Kenya." And we have a tagline which says, Pimwa TB, Tibiwa Ishi Poa.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
Moving on, 14 counties will each receive 10 locally assembled hospital beds as the government seeks to encourage local innovators. Speaking while handing over the beds, Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Miners said the government was giving preference to local innovators to uplift the livelihoods of Kenyans.
Maina, who flagged off the 170 beds, challenged young people to showcase their capabilities and talents, noting that going forward, the government will be keen to work closely with local innovators.
So we are confident that once we give the right signals from government, give a right push, like in policy of, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, that we are capable of generating these markets for these products within our country. And we're very excited when people come in and deliver.
We'll be able to, especially on the area of health, now that we have COVID, to make sure that our youth, our women groups and other social groups that are able to produce such products are given the opportunity first to consume from their own government, and secondly, to go beyond the borders with our support.
Maina noted the beds make up the first batch of the 500 procured from 3 local artisans, following a directive from President Uhuru Kenyatta in July 2020, both as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic and promotion of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya concept. Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho, who attended the event, said the beds have been given to the counties at no cost.
As a government, your ministry has developed a list of over 400 items that we must locally be able to procure. And there is a directive to that effect, and we hope this sets the tone that the 400 plus products for the young people, they should be able to come and exploit that opportunity.
Kibicho challenged the youth to use their skills and take advantage of opportunities in government to make a living.
We are here today to demonstrate to the young people that we can actually use the young people, we can actually manufacture things here, and the government can actually buy them. And that is what we are here to do. And this to serve as a lesson to the other young people.
We will do everything possible to ensure that those young people that have good ideas are granted the opportunity also, not only to make what they have, but also to ensure it is showcased to the consumers and their opportunity is actually born with some good fruits, as we have witnessed here today.
Solomon Gadhogo, the young innovator who has employed 40 young Kenyans, said that the government's move to buy the beds has given hope to many young people who have ideas that can be used to solve challenges in the society.
If we continue supporting our very own people in this country, buying our own products here, it means that we are creating employment for our young people, because the person who is the eldest in that workshop right now is around 29 years. So that shows that our young men and our young women have the solutions for our own problems here.
Counties to benefit include Samburu, Tana River, Nyeri, Kajiado, Murang'a, Kisii, Siaya, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Mandera, with Nairobi getting 40 beds. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Channel 1 News.
And now on matters education, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has said that there will be increased vigilance at examination centres to curb cheating ahead of the commencement of the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education on Friday. Magoha, who spoke in Kisumu following the conclusion of KCPE examinations, revealed that some examination centre managers and collaborators are plotting to impersonate candidates in the forthcoming exams, warning that those found culpable will face the full force of the law. Wycliffe Okech has more details.
The KCPE examination that began Monday has officially come to an end Wednesday. Cabinet Secretary for Education Professor George Magoha expressing satisfaction in the manner in which the exam was administered.
99.999% sat for the exams. Those who did not sit had good reason. Some of them in the border areas are not traceable because They could even have gone to Tanzania or Uganda, and they have, we have no jurisdiction there. Those who have health issues that could not do exams have also not been able to do exams. But those who have health issues that were able to do exams have been able to do exams.
The CS also hinted at increased vigilance at examination centers ahead of the KCSE exams, which are set to kick off on Friday this week. He said each examination center will have at least 3 police officers, contrary to 2 officers as was the case for the KCPE exams, which have just concluded.
The concept of 2 policemen, minimum 2 policemen per center manager, is not negotiable. As we go into the KCSE on Friday, I would like to ask the center managers with very large pupilages like Miranda, which has close to 600, and many, many others who have over 400 or 300 and something candidates. They must have 3 or 4 policemen, and it's very simple.
At the same time, the CS dismissed claims of delayed capitation to schools, saying 7.5 billion shillings have been released to cater for the administration of the KCSE exams.
The President ordered the release of that money 3 weeks ago. We have been able to release 50% of it yesterday. The other 50% shall be released towards the end of April.
Magoha reading a riot act to exam center managers whom he said were planning to aid in KCSE exam cheating.
There's a small number of people, including teachers, who are planning to do KCSE examinations for candidates in rooms that they have organized elsewhere. And I think this will basically be my last warning shot. If they intend to be bold enough to proceed with this, then you will see that we shall arrest them and throw them into prison until after the exam is completed.
Professor Magoha also ruled out the revival of regional marking centers as a way of curbing potential exam cheating. Wycliffe Okech, Channel 1 News from Kisumu County.
Well, that report brings us to our first break here on Channel 1 News Hour. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduti ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder. 399 shillings. Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi 2 unaweza nunua microwave. Shilingi 5 unaweza nunua hata gari. So tupeleke huko hata mtu aende huko.
Jiunga na Quickbit ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbit.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quickbit, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya jitume mwenyewe kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *963#.
Unavyojikakamua kupata ufanisi, ndivyo utakavyofurahi baada ya kufanikiwa. Usisubiri kusukumwa na mtu, jitume mwenyewe.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *963#. *811 *963#.
On the next episode of
Chaivo, yani hata natamani asirudi kabisa.
Tizame basi, mimi nikikuchukua wewe, yeye hawezi kufanya lolote.
Jamani, Mungu amshari wewe.
Fanya hivi, jifiche. Hapana, sitajificha wewe.
Afadhali nakuomba. Jifiche hapa.
Akuje tumenyana.
Fanya hivi, sikiza bwana.
Ofanyani.
Navangua mume wangu.
Welcome back. A police officer in Roy has gained national attention by babysitting for a standard 8 pupil as she wrote her KCPE examination. The officer, who declined to comment on camera, said he was only doing what was right.
Alice Milto, a Class 8 pupil at Quest for Happiness School in Ruai, Nairobi, arrives to sit for a Kiswahili exam. Her baby Victor Nyakaia gently clutched in her hand. But as she concentrates on her exam, an officer stationed at her school takes the baby, an act that has warmed the heart of many. He rocks the baby gently in one hand, his firearm on the other, as he keeps watch on security at the school.
But he fell in love with this baby. He has been carrying the baby. He has been so proud of the baby. You know, that is again building self-esteem to this mother who became expectant.
Milito, like many other girls her age, got pregnant during the extended learning break occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, something her teachers believe should not be held against her.
She's a Maasai girl. We saved her from early marriage. Then we accepted her. She has to do the exam like any other child, and I'm expecting her to do well because we want to educate these children watoke from vicious cycle of poverty so that they can be self-sustainers.
And after the exam, the officer dutifully hands back the baby to its mother. Considering it just another day on the job, the officer reserved his comments on his rare gesture. Alice still believes she has a bright future undeterred by early motherhood.
Nilipata mtu wa kutusaidia kusomesha up to class 8, and we really want you to help me so that I can learn high school until Form 4 and get a good job, and I want to learn like others.
Being expectant is not a crime. The crime is when we don't accept them, when we don't encourage them.
In a related development, a standard 8 pupil in Teso North sub-county was not as lucky. Her labor pains came on the second day of the examinations, forcing her to be away from school. She delivered a baby girl who she incidentally named Exam Nabutu. Her spiritual father encouraged her to look forward to going back to school and not consider her early motherhood as at the end of her road.
Masomo haina kikomo. Masomo haina umri. Masomo haina nywele nyeupe wala nywele nyeusi.
Yusufar, Channel 1 News.
Siaya Senator James Orengo has called for non-politicization of the constitution amendment process. Orengo claims allegations that some forces are out to hijack the BBI process are baseless, calling upon Kenyans to wait for the joint committee report. He spoke alongside senators who had convened a parliamentary group meeting to determine the fate of Cleophas Malala, who was ejected as deputy minority leader by NASA senators.
The debate on whether to amend or not amend the BBI-led constitutional process continues to be a thorny issue among legislators, whose joint committee on the document now has 9 days to table its report. Siaya Senator James Orengo, while denying claims that some political hands were on work to interfere with the report, called for patience among Kenyans.
There's no hijack at all. And you know, as a coalition, and if I talk for the party or in democratic movement, we are fully committed to BBI.
During the NASA parliamentary group meeting, senators voted to eject Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala as the deputy minority leader. Malala, who is said to be replaced by Kilifi Senator Stuart Madzayo, has been accused of alleged gross misconduct and mischief in the recently concluded Matungu parliamentary mini-poll.
We were dealing with questions of leadership within the coalition, and I don't want to predetermine the matter. I could hear one of you talking about the substance of what probably he thinks we discussed. But I would urge you that at the end of by the end of the morning, we will give you a further briefing on that question.
Meanwhile, the Senate has altered its calendar for the 5th session in a move that will see the House sit once a week on Tuesday morning and afternoon sitting, While approving the motion, senators argued that the move was necessitated by an increase in the spread of COVID-19, forcing the House to reduce its sittings.
What is the plan with regards to vaccination of the entire population? Kenya can afford to buy the 47 million doses for all Kenyans if we stop some of these programs that are not urgent. They might be necessary, but not urgent as a vaccine.
Kujakuwa na mwelekeo wote katika bunge hili kuhusiana na masuala ya COVID. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni aibu leo kwamba mpaka sasa kutoka hii raundi ya 3 ianze hatujakuwa na mwongozo wote uliotolewa katika bunge hili kuhusiana na vipi wananchi watakavyoweza kufanya ili kuepukana na janga hili.
As much as we are protecting ourselves as leaders, it is very important and incumbent upon ourselves, Mr. Speaker, for us to retreat to our counties, our respective counties, and ensure that we carry out effective oversight on the governors so that, Mr. Speaker, we protect our lives and protect the lives of our people, the people who elected us.
The number of people being buried on the same day for the same reasons was shocking. So we need, Mr. Speaker, to hold the government, both at the national and county levels, to account. Money was sent to counties for corona.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Security Committee failed to kick off due to lack of quorum. CS Matiang'i and the entire ministry senior leadership had honored summons by the committee, only for the meeting to be aborted as legislators were a no-show.
We had prepared and we were ready, but to our disappointment, we have had to call off this meeting. We hope that they'll be able to organize themselves better next time so that we are able to satisfy members of parliament who are asking very important questions on behalf.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Moving on, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has called for political leaders to foster peace and stability ahead of the planned referendum and 2022 general election. Matiang'i said the government will not sit pretty as a section of wayward politicians balkanize the country.
In a consultative meeting held at the Jumuiya Resort Conference Center in Limuru, CS Fred Matiang'i emphasized on the need for peace and stability ahead of the forthcoming general election.
In every region, we have a committee that works with the regional commissioner and the regional security team in every sub-county, all the way to the location, so that we are able to deploy alternative dispute resolution mechanisms before we bring in tear gas and rungus.
The Interior CS urged political leaders to observe ethical language when in political rallies so as to avoid causing chaos.
Speak for cohesion, speak for unity of the country, speak for oneness of the country. If I were to recommend one or two things to you, I would recommend that you should lead the campaign entitled Deny Bad Leaders the Vote, because how we punish bad leaders and how we punish agents of all these evils is by denying them the vote. Because if we deny them the vote, we deny them the platform to perpetuate whatever they need to do.
His sentiments were echoed by NCCK Secretary General Chris Kinyanjui, who called on the need to end divisive politics and have the country move forward as one people.
And as we go to that process, we wanted the assurance that this process is going to be peaceful, is going to be safe, and is not going to displace anybody from their homes, and is not going to bring instability in our country.
Addressing the increased cases of domestic violence, Matiang'i urged the church to intervene and help stem the rising concern.
We have lost more people and we are losing more lives to domestic and communal violence than we have lost to terrorism. That's true. So the newest terror that we need to work on is terror at the domestic level. This now should be an emergency so that we begin working on family and communal value systems.
With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Interior CS also called upon people to take the vaccine jab once an opportunity arises. For Channel 1 News, I'm Sarafina Robbie.
A first-year student at Masinde Muliro University in Kakamega is fighting for her life after an alleged botched abortion. This and more stories in the news making headlines in the counties.
According to her fellow students, they suspected everything was not okay after they found the said student bleeding in her room. It was later found out that she had conducted a botched abortion and was rushed to Kakamega Hospital and the fetus removed from the pit latrine where it had been dumped.
Tafadhali mgeushe nia. Kuishi, unaweza kuta vijana wawili, wasichana wawili wanaishi nyumba moja. Je, lini mafuta yakakaa na maji pamoja?
Usome kwanza, mambo ya kuzaa watoto ama kuoleka ni baadaye. Lakini wewe usikuja hapo kusoma, unapata mimba, unaamua kurusha mtoto kwa choo. Kumbuka kuna watu wengi ambao hawana watoto wanatamani sana kupata nini? Mtoto.
Meanwhile, Liwan residents in Turkana County are decrying perennial drought that has had negative impacts on their lives. They say the situation has greatly affected their pastoralist activities.
Sana kitu naitwa maji ndio maisha ya mtu. Hata mtu kukosa maji, hata kama unaleta chakula, hata kama umejenga shule, hata kama umejenga hospitali, kama hakuna maji. Sasa utakuwa msaidi wapi?
Elsewhere, Wasingishu Deputy Governor Daniel Chemno has called on the Office of the Auditor General to make clear distinctions on causes of audit queries in the county. Chemno saying that reporting on underspending gave the public the notion that the county had money lying in their accounts which was not spent.
The Treasury does not, or the financial year ends before the Treasury remits all the money. We receive some money at the end of the financial year. But when you come reporting, you say, Wasingishu County government was not able to spend 3.5 billion shillings.
In Muranga, the Kenya Tea Development Authority factory directors in Zone 2 and 3 have termed the purported elections carried out on Saturday, the 20th of March 2021 as illegitimate. The directors saying the elections were not backed by the company articles or laws.
Kuna wenye walichaguliwa kama madirectors na wako kwa ile implementation committee. Hiyo ni kuonyesha kwamba kuna conflict of interest ambayo sisi tunapiga kabisa. Kwa hivyo tunasema hiyo uchaguzi si halali.
Finally, women have been urged to break the barriers that stagnate their growth, especially in leadership positions in the country. Speaking during the 2 days Women in Human Resource Convention in Taita Taveta, Deputy Governor Majala Mlagui reiterated the need for women to support and grow each other professionally.
Let us talk about workplace harassment. Let us talk about the difficulties experienced by women once they start scaling these levels of leadership. Let us talk about the psychological trauma.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
Well, that report by Nancy Okware brings us to our second break here on Channel 1 News Hour. Don't go too far. Business News is up next.
On the next episode,
we believe we have actually exceeded expectations.
We're now doing approximately 90% of our cargo all on SGR.
Hii SGR ifike Kisumu, iende Maraba, ifike Uganda.
Treni inaokolea Kenya kwa njia kuu na pia kugrow taifa.
Natoka safari za reli zianze, tumeona kwamba nambari ya watu ambao wanakuja kutembelea katika sehemu za kitalii hapa Mombasa na hata Savo imezidi kuongezeka.
Alhamisi saa 2:30 usiku kwenye KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. We do apologize for that. Now, let's take a look at matters of business. The National Assembly Finance and National Planning Committee will republish the Central Bank Amendment Bill 2020 to get public opinion on issues that deal with digital credit providers. The move follows the death of Bonchari Member of Parliament John Oro Oyonka, who sponsored the bill, according to the committee's chairperson Gladys Wanga. This comes as a report by PricewaterhouseCoopers shows regulations which are focused on consumers' protection will ensure the growth of a digital lending environment in the country amid calls to curb predatory lending.
While digital lending has witnessed exponential growth in recent times and helped boost financial inclusion, players in the industry have been accused of abetting predatory lending to unsuspecting customers and at the same time lacking stronger consumers' protection safeguards. The CBK Amendment Bill, which was being sponsored by the late Bonchari Member of Parliament Roy Yonka, sought to give CBK powers to regulate the conduct of digital financial lenders since there was no law to govern the sector.
According to our standing orders, we have to carry out public participation, and we are happy to, engage with all stakeholders on this matter. As we said, as both the Digital Lenders Association and also the regulators and other stakeholders have alluded, there are challenges. There is a silver lining on innovation in fintech, but there's also challenges. The challenges include over-indebtedness by our populace, include the fact that there's no data protection for clients, include the risk for money laundering and so on.
According to a comparative study on the regulation of digital lending by PricewaterhouseCoopers, commissioned by Digital Lenders Association DLAK, digital lending regulatory environment should ensure consumer protection principles are embedded in the recommendation Consumer Credit Code, which include transparency and fairness in dealings with consumers, transparent pricing principles, disclosure of key terms and conditions, and restrictions on certain debt collection practices.
The regulatory framework should protect the consumer from harm. In that same regard, we should ensure that because we are going into more digital economies and a digital world, we don't stifle innovation, right? And that's what's important. So it's finding that right balance between protecting the consumer from harm and ensuring that we can continue innovating as fast as we do right now.
The report further backs the formation of a dispute resolution office to ensure disputes with credit providers are promptly addressed. The office will have the ability to liaise with the regulator to address serious complainants by consumers.
We should find a humane way of getting that money. Then we used to have the credit reference, which was going to help us in terms of borrower behavior, that if your name appears there, most people would not want their name to appear there. And what did the central bank do? They removed that.
The office will have the ability to liaise with the regulator to address serious complaints by consumers. The white paper rules out prescribing a prudential licensing framework, as it would increase the compliance burden for lenders, the cost of credit for consumers, and monitoring burden for the regulator. According to the report, stringent rules on minimum capital requirements, financial adequacy, and reporting local shareholding requirements would impose significant compliance cost on participants and stifle growth of the sector. The report looked at digital lending market in 11 countries.
It would cost the Exchequer 4 billion shillings per month for Kenyans to enjoy a 7-shilling discount per litre of fuel at the pump. According to Petroleum Principal Secretary Andrew Kamau, Kenya uses 264,000 barrels of refined petroleum products, which compares lowly to 240,000 barrels that were realized in the early oil pilot scheme.
Launched in 2018, the Early Oil Pilot Scheme, EOPS, in its first phase, saw some 250,000 barrels exported, bringing in about 1.48 billion shillings in earnings. The government used the scheme to test the country's logistical capacity, address community issues, and to find out how Kenya's oil reservoirs behave.
However, queries emerged why Kenya's current oil exploration status could not cushion Kenyans from volatile fuel prices.
We have seen that even when the prices of fuel, crude oil goes down, in Kenya, it is not translated equivalently as compared to other countries.
How much is the consumption for kerosene? How much is the consumption for diesel? How much is the consumption for super petrol? Because we are desirous to ensure that Wajiku as a gas at home, which we have not achieved as a country.
Responding to queries fielded by the Parliamentary Energy Committee, chaired by Nakuru Town East MP David Gikaria, Petroleum PS Andrew Kamau said EOPS was not a commercial venture but was only aimed at finding marketability of Kenya's crude oil.
Chair, the EOPS project is finished as of June last year, so there is no crude being transported by road. There is no crude currently in tanks in Turkana. There is 180,000 barrels of crude at KPRL in Mombasa.
At the same time, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority maintained that the pricing of petrol, diesel and kerosene mirrors the prevailing prices in the international market, adding that it will be costly for the exchequer by 82 billion shillings to stock for 90 days, considering the volatility of fuel prices in the market. Alanauko, Channel on Business.
Long-serving chief executive and founder of WPP Scan Group, Bharat Thakrar, has resigned. In a statement, the company announced that Bharat tendered his resignation as CEO and board member, which the board has accepted. Bharat, who was 69, was suspended alongside the chief finance officer, Satya Bratadas on February 18th over investigations into allegations of gross misconduct and possible offences. The Nairobi Security Exchange listed firm said it is now in search of a new CEO, with Alec Graham now starting as Chief Operating Officer on an interim basis. Northam Platinum Company has been directed to stop racist mentality and allow all South African employees and investors to hold equity in the company, reversing decades of exclusion under apartheid rule. Now, details of these and other stories from the African continent.
Northam on Tuesday cleared that it will buy back all preference shares from its black economic empowerment vehicle Zambezi Platinum 4 years ahead of its 10-year maturation date buyback to boost its investment in the country. The nearly $135.58 million transaction will offer a 16% premium for the Zambezi preference share and will also include an overall, as it had been buying back Zambezi preference shares from institutional shareholders to reduce its own preference share dividend expense, liability, and potential financial exposure under the guarantee it gives to its shareholders. Meanwhile, the government of Rwanda has partnered with UNICEF and Airtel to launch the Internet of Good Things in Rwanda, an innovative digital platform with information and resources which provides better and healthier living. This move is aimed at aiding communities and individuals across Rwanda access life-saving information about communicable diseases like COVID-19, sexual and gender-based violence, early and unintended pregnancies, as well as HIV/AIDS. Finally, the ice cream brand Magnum Company in Côte d'Ivoire is set to plant 465,000 trees in Arena area. They will be planted to mark the International Day of Forest. Alongside its tree planting efforts, Magnum has unveiled a unique arts as well as radio program collaboration aimed at engaging local communities to work alongside them to protect and restore biodiverse forest habitats, forming part of the Unilever's 2025 cocoa strategy.
Coal India Limited plans to invest in a 3,000 megawatt solar energy project in a joint venture with state-run NLC India. This is a major shift for the firm, which produces most of India's coal. Details of these and other stories from across the globe.
India currently uses about 10 billion tons of coal annually, making it the world's second largest consumer behind China. SAIL is by far the country's biggest producer, with the company aiming to produce 710 million tons of coal in 2020-2021, according to India's coal ministry. The ministry's solar project with NLC India will be worth $1.73 billion, with SAIL expected to invest roughly half of that figure by 2024. Meanwhile, China's biggest car maker, Geely, is launching a premium electric car brand it hopes will take on Tesla. The Chinese company, which owns Volvo and Lotus, announced its Zeekr brand on Tuesday to tap into China's demand for electric vehicles. It comes as Elon Musk goes on charm offensive in China, praising its plans to tackle carbon emissions. The Tesla founder has been seeking to allay Chinese concerns about his car's onboard cameras. Finally, the UK government has announced that more oil and gas wells are to be drilled in the North Sea. The announcement is have elicited debate with environmental activists appealing for denial of new licenses. Ministers say permission to drill will be granted as part of a careful transition away from fossil fuels, safeguarding jobs and the economy. Environmentalists say that enough fossil fuels to ruin the climate have already been found.
Next on.
Watu wameenda pale, wameamka asubuhi, wamepanga foleni vizuri.
Watu wako wengi. Nilikuwa nakwambia uje mapema. Hakuna haja tupange line si wote. Wewe tu nilipia alafu naleta huko tunapatana huko ndani ofisi. Na nusu acha nihudumiwe nimaliziwe niende.
Unamaliziwa na ngoja unamaliziwa kwani si pia hataki kumaliziwa.
Yaani uko hapo? Yaani kwenye line. Sasa hii ni maneno gani tena? Ni nini inaendelea hapa? Ama line inaanzia na huko pia mimi niende nikasimame huko nyuma.
Wewe mzee hapana bwana. Unajua wengine tumepanda mabasi.
Kwa hakika hii ni tabia ambayo inaudhi sana.
North meets East as a never say die. Harambee Stars host the Pharaohs of Egypt, all hopeful of reviving their chances in the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 1-1 draw in Cairo.
Very dangerous. Oh no, what has he done? Oh, it's a golden opportunity. It's in the back of the net. There it is. And I think it is that man. Can they get a shot in? That's very dangerous. Can he get the ball back? It's in the back of the net. Kenya have scored. They found the back of the net.
Let's cheer them to victory in a true patriotic spirit, live on KBC Channel 1 this Thursday, the 25th of March at 7 p.m. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. Now, let's take a look at the sports arena where the national soccer team Harambee Stars will face Egypt tomorrow in an AFCON 2022 qualifier match set to take place at the Kasarani Stadium. This will be Stars' determinant match since a win will see them increase their chances of qualifying for the continental showpiece. Meanwhile, the Egypt national team had a fill of the Kasarani Stadium this evening after jetting into the country last night.
Harambee Stars today completed their final training session ahead of their AFCON 2022 qualifier match against Egypt set for Thursday. Stars must beat Egypt and Togo to enhance their chances of qualifying for the continental showpiece. Harambee Stars captain Michael Olunga is optimistic Stars will get a positive result against the Pharaohs tomorrow. After tomorrow's match, Harambee Stars will fly to Lome for the final qualifying tie against Togo 4 days later. Meanwhile, Liverpool talisman Mohamed Salah, Arsenal midfielder Mohamed El Neni and Galatasaray striker Mustafa Mohamed are some of the top players included in the Egypt squad that jetted in the country last night to play in the qualifier match. The matches will be used as build-up matches towards the upcoming 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers that get underway in June 2021.
Kenya Motorsport Federation will lock out spectators from this weekend's Machakos Rally as well as other motor racing events. The Machakos Rally will count towards the second round of the Kenya National Rally Championship.
Eric Benge will be the first on off the ramp when Machakos Rally revs off at the expansive Laser Farm this Sunday. The Nairobi-based driver will be navigated by Peter Mutuma in an R4 Mitsubishi Evo X. Tej Rai, navigated by Gareth Dare, will take off in second place with Ian Duncan coming in third.
Something we want to tell the motorsport enthusiasts is we do not want spectators. Because of COVID, we are constrained that we will not allow them to come to any stage. And we do not encourage them to come. They can watch on YouTube on Sunday morning live.
Immediate former champion Carl Flash Tundo, reigning champion Baldev Chaga and Karan Patel will start in 4th, 5th and 6th position respectively. The event will count towards the second round of the KCB Kenya National Rally Championship. The last stage of the day will be a power stage where the top 3 drivers will gain bonus points.
We start at 9 o'clock, go stage 1 at Reserve Farm, finish Reserve Farm, then we go direct to stage 3 start of Kenjoro. It's next to the Reserve Farm. We will do a stage of 17 kilometers. Then cars will come in for service. They'll have a 30-minute service. Then they'll go back to Reserve Farm again, repeat the whole stage again. Then after that stage, we'll have a break. Then we'll have what we call these days a power stage, which is Kenjoro. We'll repeat Kenjoro again for another 16 kilometers, then come back to Service Park, and that will be the end of the event.
The second round of the Kenya Savannah Classic came to a close today with 73 golfers, among them Golf Park's David Weku making the cut for the final 2 rounds at the Karen Country Club.
Golf Park's David Wahu is the only Kenyan to make cut at the inaugural edition of the Kenya Savannah Classic that is being played at the Par 71 Karen Country Club. Wahu carried a round of 3 under par 68 to finish the day joint 14th on a total of 8 under par 134. South African David Van Tonder is the leader going into moving day after a round of 7 under 64 that included 3 eagles, and so he moved to a total of 13 under par 129. Scotsman David Drysdale and Magical Kenya Open winner Justin Harding are joined second on 12 under par 130. The day's best performer was Dutchman Darius Van Driel, who equaled the current course record of 9 under par 62 to move up 59 places to join 7th. The Kenya Savannah Classic is the 7th of 42 events on the European Tour calendar. The event has a prize fund of €1 million, that's equivalent to 131 million shillings, with the winner taking home €145,500, equivalent to 19 million shillings. For Channel 1 Sports, I am Daniel Wahome.
Kenya's Lucy Ching lost to Shamala Mwenge of DRC in a lightweight preliminary bout on unanimous points at the ongoing Africa Zone 3 Boxing Championship in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Kenyan coaches, led by Musa Benjamin, are using the championship to test the preparedness of Nico Koth, Eli Ajoy, Elizabeth Akenye and Christine Ongare ahead of the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan, as well as to look at the potential of emerging boxers.
Kenya's Lucia Chieng and Elizabeth Akinyi were on the losing end in their bouts following defeats to Shamala Mwenge of DRC and 2019 Africa Olympic qualifiers welterweight silver medalist Ashinda Pangwana of Mozambique. However, it was not all gloom as Christine Ongare humbled Onella of Burundi via unanimous points. The squad had initially hoped to attain more slots in the Olympics at the World Repechage qualifiers in France, but the event was called off after the Tokyo Olympics organizing committee admitted it was pressed for time to accommodate any further qualifiers. The boxers have been training since late last year after the government allowed national teams to prepare for international assignments following months of inactivity due to COVID-19 outbreak.
National Women's Rugby Team Kenya Lionesses and the National Women's Volleyball Team Malkia Strikers are the latest teams to join Team Kenya Tokyo 2021 residential camp. The teams entered into residential training camp this week at the Kenyatta University Conference Center. This move comes against the backdrop of the new plan by Olympics Kenya to start residential camp training much earlier, with an eye on improved performance by the athletes in Tokyo later in the year. As is now the standard practice by Olympics Kenya before athletes and the technical officials settle into the bubble residential camp, all the 28 volleyball team members and the 28 rugby team members took the COVID-19 test, whose results have all returned negative, setting the stage for the commencement of a 21-day residential camp training for the volleyball queens and 10 days for the rugby ladies. Road to Qatar 2022 for European nations begin today with a series of World Cup qualifiers on card. World champions France will kick off the title defense against Ukraine, who are out to qualify for the global showpiece for the first time since 2006, while Wales will be away to Belgium.
Champions France take the first step towards defending the World Cup crown today when they welcome Ukraine to the Stade de France in Group D. The host will be eyeing a comfortable route to Qatar over the next year, while Ukraine are bidding to qualify for the finals for the first time since 2006. France and Ukraine last met as recently as October 2020, and Andrei Shevchenko's men was simply swept aside by the world champions on that occasion as the Didier Deschamps side stormed to a 7-1 win in a friendly match. Meanwhile, Portugal kick off their qualifying campaign when they play against Azerbaijan in Group A at the Allianz Stadium in Turin. Fernando Santos' men will be aiming to progress to the finals for the sixth time running, whilst Azerbaijan are bidding to qualify as an independent nation for the first time in their history. Elsewhere, Belgium will be seeking some revenge against Wales when they kick off their qualifying at Den Tref in Leuven. The highest profile of those recent meetings between these sides came at the quarter-final stage of Euro 2016, a game which Wales won 3-1.
Now, World Football's governing body FIFA has announced former President Sepp Blatter and General Secretary Jerome Valcke have been handed a new 6 years and 8 months ban from football. According to FIFA, the duo violated various code of ethics. Now, the ban will start when the current suspensions of Blatter and Valcke end in October 2021 and October 2025, respectively, with both also being fined €780,000. In a statement by FIFA, the investigations into the Blatter and Valcke covered various charges, including bonus payments in relation to FIFA competitions that were paid to top FIFA management officials, various amendments and extensions of employment contracts, as well as the reimbursement by FIFA of private legal costs. In the case of Mr. Valcke, Blatter was originally banned by FIFA for 6 over ethics breaches when he was found to have made €1.3 million disloyal payment to ex-UEFA boss Michael Platini. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin tonight. For more news, check out our website at kbc.co.ke. My name is Jacky, and Wambiru. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Odingo. Up next is Yusufara with the weather updates. Have a good night.
Good evening. This is Channel 1 weather updates. My name is Yusuf Farah. Now, tonight, the counties of Narok and Eldoret tie at 9 degrees Celsius each, with dry weather conditions dominating most parts of the country. Tomorrow morning, the capital city wakes up to partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals. Nyeri will also have the same weather conditions. The coastal region, sunny intervals in the morning. The northeastern region as well, all the way to Lodwar, sunny intervals in the morning. In the afternoon, there will be partly cloudy conditions, showers accompanied by thunderstorms in areas of Kisii, Kericho and Eldoret. The capital city will have partly cloudy conditions with sunny intervals. Sunny intervals in the coastal region. Mandera, Garissa and Isiolo will also have sunny intervals in the afternoon, all the way to the Lake Turkana Basin and areas bordering Kenya and South Sudan. As far as the temperatures are concerned, highs of 39, lows of 24 in Mandera. Garissa, highs of 37, lows of 24, and Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 15. On that note, I complete the local weather focus. The international weather focus is coming up in a bit. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, only on Channel 1. Until then, do have yourselves a pleasant night.